Good afternoon. For our next topic would be Commensal Amoebas. Now, the presence of Commensal Amoeba in the stool sample of an individual is significant for two reasons. Number one, they may be mistaken for E. histolytica. And then number two, they are an indication of fecal contamination of food or water. Now, the accurate diagnosis of this Commensal Amoeba is therefore also very crucial. Okay, Commensal Amoeba. Now, the three genera of this intestinal amoeba can be differentiated through their morphological features of their nuclei. Again, they can be differentiated on the basis of their nuclei. Okay. Now, the genus Entamoeba has a spherical nucleus. Spherical nucleus with a distinct nuclear membrane lined with chromatin granules and a small caryosome. Okay, and a small caryosome that is found near the center of the nucleus. Then number two, we have your Endolimax. Your Endolimax naman class, they have a vesicular nucleus. Okay, they have a vesicular nucleus. Okay, with a relatively large and irregularly shaped caryosome anchored to the nucleus by achromatic fibrils. And then, lastly, we have the Iodamoeba. The Iodamoeba naman class, they are characterized by a large chromatin-rich caryosome. Okay, large chromatin-rich caryosome, and this is surrounded by a layer of achromatic globules and anchored to the nuclear membrane by achromatic fibrils. Okay, now all of these species, Entamoeba, Endolimax, and Iodamoeba, they have four developmental stages. Number one, they have a trophozoite stage. Meron din silang pre-cystic stage. They have a cyst stage and a metacyst stage. Okay, with the exception now to Entamoeba Gingivalis. Okay, with the exception now to Entamoeba Gingivalis, which has no cyst stage. Okay, huwag niyong kakalimutan, wala silang cyst stage. Okay, okay. And then, aside from this one, si Entamoeba Gingivalis din class, ang pinagkaiba niya sa mga amoebas natin for this following amoeba, they do not inhabit the intestine. Unlike the other amoeba, they usually inhabit either the small or large intestine. Your Entamoeba Gingivalis, they parasitizes the oral cavity. Okay? Now, the humans can be infected with this Commensal Amoebas through ingestion of the viable cyst. Okay, for the infective stage, cyst pa din class. Okay, through ingestion of viable cyst in either food or water. And then, as for their reproduction naman, ganun din, kay E. histolytica, through binary fission of the trophozoites. Okay. Now, take note, class, that the excistation process, it usually occurs in an alkaline environment. Okay, it usually occurs in an alkaline environment since yung trophozoite nila is very sensitive to acidity of the stomach. Kaya usually, yung excistation nangyayari na sa lower parts of the small intestine. And then, take note also, class, that the metacystic trophozoites, they only colonize the large intestine and they live on intestinal mucosa. Okay, hanggang dun lang sila sa intestine. Unlike in your E. histolytica kasi, it has the capability of invading the tissues. Okay, but unlike with this one, mga commensals natin, they are considered as non-invasive and non-pathogenic, most of them. While the encystation process naman, class, the encystation, it usually occurs as amoeba will pass through the lower colon where the colonic contents are more dehydrated. Okay? Mag-e-encys niyang mga yan kasi ibig sabihin, okay, nagdi-deplete na yung kanilang nutrients. Okay? So, they have to undergo encystation. Again, as I said a while ago, these amoeba are non-invasive and it does not necessarily cause diseases to humans. Now, let us start with Entamoeba Despair. Okay. Ba't lumalabo? Okay, Entamoeba Despair class, these amoeba, they are morphologically similar to E. histolytica. They are very similar when it comes to the morphology of your E. histolytica. Okay, although the differentiation now is based on their DNA, their RNA of course, and then their isoenzyme pattern. Diyan na lang sila magkakaiba. Okay, and then aside from this one, ang pinagkaiba nila class, unlike in your E. histolytica, yung kanyang trophozoite, it has ingested RBCs. But in the case of Entamoeba Despair, they do not necessarily ingest RBCs. And then next, we have your Entamoeba hartmanni. We have your Entamoeba hartmanni. Your Entamoeba hartmanni naman class, it is also known as the small race. Small race, Entamoeba histolytica, also known as small race Entamoeba histolytica, or Entamoeba minuta. Okay. Now, this is also similar to Entamoeba histolytica in terms of their nucleus, in terms of their trophozoite and the cyst, except that it is much smaller compared to your E. histolytica, and then the trophozoite, it does not, okay, it does not ingest RBCs. So, pag tinanong ko class, okay, what would be the best differentiation or best, o tama, what would be the best differentiation between E. histolytica and Entamoeba hartmanni? It would be the size. Okay? I think mas magandang isagot is the basis on their size. Okay? So, mas maliit ang ating Entamoeba hartmanni. And then, aside from this one, they also differ when it comes to their motility. Okay? They have a more sluggish motility compared to your Entamoeba histolytica. And then, the immature cyst of this amoeba class, they have chromatoidal bars, which may be shorter, with tapered ends, which is sometimes, okay, resembling like a rice grain, okay. It sometimes we refer it to as rice grain shape chromatoidal bars, or sometimes thin fan-like appearance. Okay, so again, it is non-pathogenic, but sometimes it causes only mild enteritis. And then next, we have your Entamoeba coli. We have your Entamoeba coli. Okay, we have your Entamoeba coli. Your Entamoeba coli naman class, these are harmless inhabitant of the colon, especially the large intestine. Okay, again, they can be differentiated from E. histolytica, okay, by the basis of their trophozoites, the cysts, and etc. Now, sa trophozoites class, malaki ang pagkakaiba nila. Okay, the trophozoite of Entamoeba coli, okay, especially the endoplasm of Entamoeba coli is more granular or more vacuolated. Okay, and it is when it comes to the inclusion, yung mga bacteria, RBCs, ganyan. Although, they do not ingest RBCs. But when it comes to their inclusion, it is sometimes regarded as dirty-looking. Okay, dirty-looking trophozoites. Okay, and then, when it comes to the ectoplasm, it is usually narrower and less differentiated. And then, their pseudopodia, it is usually broader and blunt pseudopodia. Okay, and then, magkaiba rin sila ng E. histolytica when it comes to their motility. It is more sluggish. Sluggish, unidirected movement. Now, when it comes to their caryosome, it is usually thicker, irregular, and the chromatin, it is peripherally located, peripheral chromatin, with a large eccentric caryosome. Okay, eccentric caryosome. Eccentric caryosome in the nucleus. And then, when it comes to their cyst naman class, an E. coli cyst may be differentiated from Entamoeba histolytica, okay, from their, ano ba yan? Ano ba, class? Okay. An E. coli cyst may be differentiated from E. histolytica on the basis of their, okay, ito yung mga pinagkaiba nila. Yung cyst ng Entamoeba coli natin, it is usually larger. Mas malalaki ang mga yan compared to your E. histolytica. Tapos, very obvious yan class na Entamoeba coli kasi mas numerous. Mas numerous yung kanilang nucleus. Usually, umaabot yan ng up to 8 nuclei. Compared to your E. histolytica, di ba hanggang 4 lang. Yung mga mature cyst nila, it only contains 4 nuclei. Okay? But for Entamoeba coli, hanggang 8. And then for the cyst of E. coli, it is the cytoplasm, the cytoplasm of the cyst, it is more granular. And then they also have these chromatoidal bodies. Okay? The appearance of their chromatoidal bodies, it is usually appear as splinter-like or broomstick appearance. Okay? Splinter-like or broomstick appearance of the chromatoidal bodies. And then next we have your Entamoeba paulecki. This parasite is actually a parasite of pigs and monkeys. Okay? So, animal parasite yung mga yan. However, it can be also mistaken for E. histolytica, but may mga differentiations din. Okay, now it can be distinguished from E. histolytica in that its cyst is consistently uninucleated. Okay, so consistent lang na 1 lang ang kanyang nuclei compared to your E. histolytica, which is sometimes quadrinucleated. Also, when it comes to their movement, it has a progressive unidirectional motility. Okay, and then in stained fecal smears class, the nuclear membrane and the caryosome of this parasite, it is very prominent. And then next we have your Entamoeba gingivalis, also known as your Entamoeba buccalis, Entamoeba buccalis. Okay, now this parasite class, okay, it can be found again in the mouth. Okay, sa oral cavity siya nakikita. They live on the gums and teeth surfaces in the gum pockets or sometimes in the tonsillar pockets. Okay, now they are abundant in cases of oral diseases, okay, obviously, and it moves quickly. Okay, so very progressive yung kanyang motility due to its numerous pseudopodia. It has a numerous blunt pseudopodia, okay, enabling them to move very quickly. Now, the food vacuoles that contain cellular debris and bacteria are numerous. Okay, yung kanyang cytoplasm ng trophozoite niya, it contains cellular debris and bacteria. Napakarami. So, dirty looking din yung kanyang cytoplasm. Now, again, your Entamoeba gingivalis, it doesn't have a cyst stage. It only exists in trophozoite form. Okay, and it does not undergo encystation. Now, for the mode of transmission of this one, it can be acquired through direct, let's say, ano ba yung mga direct transmission natin? Like kissing, ganyan. Makikuha mo siya through kissing, droplet spray, and even sharing of utensils. And then next, we have your Endolimax nana. It is also known as Entamoeba nana or Endolimax intestinalis. Okay, now this parasite class, it is considered as the smallest. It is considered as the smallest intestinal protozoa of man. Okay, measuring now about 6 to 15 micrometer. Okay, so again, it is the smallest. Iba rin class yung small race of E. histolytica, and that is your Entamoeba hartmanni. Okay, so this is the smallest of all intestinal protozoans. Now, the cytoplasm of the trophozoite of this parasite, it is granular and vacuolated. Okay, and then the pseudopodia of this one is blunt or hyaline. Okay, blunt or hyaline pseudopodia. Okay, and then in terms of their motility naman, it has a sluggish movement. And then the caryosome of the nucleus, it appears as a large round dot. Okay, it appears as a large round dot. Okay, giving now them an appearance of cross-eyed. Okay, duling class. Okay, cross-eyed. Lalo na yung kanilang cyst. Okay, kaya tinawag yan na cross-eyed cyst parasite. Now, the mature cyst, it has up to 1 to 4 nucleus with a comma shape Okay, ayan pala. Okay, cross-eyed. Okay, comma-shaped chromatoidal bodies. It has a comma-shaped chromatoidal bodies. And then next, we have your Iodamoeba bushlii. Okay, Iodamoeba bushlii, also known as your Iodamoeba williamsi. Also known as Iodamoeba williamsi, or pwede mo rin siyang tawagin na Entamoeba bushlii or Endolimax williamsi. Okay, bahala ka class. Okay, it usually inhabits the large intestine of the man and pigs also. Okay, now it is actually very unique when it comes to its morphology kasi they have a very large vacuoles, okay, that is being stained with iodine. Okay, so unahin muna natin yung kanyang nucleus. The nucleus of this parasite, it is usually spherical. Okay, it doesn't have a peripheral chromatin, and then the caryosome is large, irregular, and rounded with a cluster of achromatic granules. Okay, sa nucleus mo yan makikita. The nucleus, it is spherical, and then the caryosome is large, irregular, and rounded with a cluster of these achromatic granules. Now, in terms of their trophozoite naman, it has a coarsely granular cytoplasm with vacuoles and bacteria. And then, their pseudopodia, they have a blunt pseudopodia with a sluggishly, take note class, it is, when it comes to their motility, it is sluggishly progressive movement. It has a sluggishly progressive movement. And then lastly, sa cyst naman nila class, it is usually uninucleated. Okay, uninucleated lang yan when mature, resembling now like a basket of flowers. Okay, kasi meron siyang prominent glycogen vacuole which can only be seen when stained with iodine. Okay, and then take note class na wala silang chromatoidal bodies. They do not have a chromatoidal bodies.